Good evening, everybody. Happy Sunday. Welcome to Carrow Road. It's not often I stand there and I don't quite know where to start with these, but I today really don't know where to start. That was epic. Breathless, brilliant. Such a great advert for this division, which is bonkers and crazy and a lot of the times pure chaos, but that was really good fun. I feel like just sort of standing there and saying, are you not entertained? Because that was the case this afternoon. 6 goals, another 2-goal comeback. A red card, a penalty saved. It's a game that had absolutely everything, wasn't it? And from a purely, neutral perspective, from a spectator perspective, and I'm sure everyone inside this place, maybe the Middlesbrough fans, even when they have time to maybe reflect, it's a long journey home. As I know, having done that a few times, to dwell on it, I think everyone would have left this place feeling entertained, feeling suitably, just feeling pretty joyous about everything that they've watched. Not necessarily because Norwich was spectacular and not necessarily because their team even has won, but just the entertainment, the chaos, the fun of it. It was a brilliant Sunday afternoon. And, usually sitting down for, what's the time now? It's 6:09 as I record this. Usually sitting down for, I don't know, a roast or whatever. This is much more entertaining way to spend a Sunday, albeit we all prefer Saturday 3 o'clock, don't we? Let's get into it then, because this is going to be, I think, fairly lengthy. Norwich City opted for an unchanged team, which I think was a little bit surprising, given this was the third game in a 3-game week, and we know the demand and whatnot. It's quite a thin squad at the moment, but I think it's almost trying to find some consistency and trying to find sort of a settled 11. Obviously, there's injuries and whatnot, and I thought for the first spell of the game, if we're going to break it up into blocks of this game, I thought the first spell, basically up to when Boro fired in, Norwich were excellent. They were aggressive. They pressed really high. They took control. And, I was at Johannes Torrek's press conference on Friday, and he spoke about the need for that first 5 minutes to establish control, to establish, particularly against what is a really good team, to try and get a footing in the game, to try and grab the game a little bit. And they did that. There was some nice spells of possession. They could have scored before they did, actually. And then eventually it's a really lovely goal, really patient build-up. Cordova with an excellent pass to Doyle, which beats a sprawling Middlesbrough defender inside to Sainz, I think it was, exchanged with Marcondes, and then it's just a trademark, really, Sainz finish now, what we'd expect. Inside, bang, top corner, brilliant finish. Excellent technique. Gave Norwich the lead. And actually, I think what I'm seeing a little bit as a theme for this Norwich team is that they're not very good when they take the lead. I'm not sure if that's a mental thing, if that's a tactical thing, or what it is. But there's enough, I think, examples here now. Hull, we saw it. Watford, we saw it. I think Leeds, we saw it to an extent, albeit against a very good team that night. There are other examples as well. And just feel like they've become a little bit too passive. They've become a little bit too... deep probably at times, a little bit too they sit in a low block quite often, and look, part of that is because they were playing an excellent team, and Middlesbrough are an excellent team. I think maybe barring Leeds in terms of all the games I've watched, but if you took the league based on teams that you've seen come to Carrow Road this season, Middlesbrough I think were the best team that we've seen here as an opposition side. And I think the fact that they probably put what has been, and we'll come on to it, a year-long unbeaten run at this place under the most jeopardy that anyone probably has done in the last 12 months speaks volumes about the quality that they have and how well coached they are as well. So there is a little bit of game state in that. But yeah, it's just a little theme that I'm noticing and I'm keeping an eye on. But the passivity that followed the goal, I think, will frustrate Johannes Torek. And that really allowed Middlesbrough probably to build some, to build some momentum, to build some intensity, to slowly begin to turn the game and grab control of the game. And they did that. Finn Azaz had a shot on the edge of the box, comes from a long ball. I think Fisher knocked it down. Long produces a really good one-arm save. There was another chance as well. I think Ben Doak got in behind Norwich on the right. He came back. Doyle blocks it. It goes out for a corner. But there was just small warning signs. And then, the goal comes from the left. It's a deep crossing. Conway meets it on the volley, and it's a poor error, isn't it, from George Long? I think we can't call it anything else. I think you look at the volley, it's not one that Conway's hit with any particular amount of pace or connected with well. It's a pretty tame side-footed effort goalwards that he lets in at his near post. I think he'll be very frustrated about that goal that he conceded. But equally, from a Norwich perspective, it obviously had a major say in how the game unfolded. But equally, I think the most frustrating thing for me is like he made two brilliant saves, and there were two, or made one. I think then another one came. I think it was the other side of the goal, but do forgive me because this game was chaos. So it almost made the harder saves. And this one I think was frustrating. There was, I'm not making excuses for him, but it is a fact. There was a lot. I was a bit. Me and Paddy were sort of speaking between ourselves. And we were a bit surprised that he didn't have a cap on, or that there wasn't a cap that came round, because there was a real sunlight hanging over that fight. I'm not by any means saying that had an impact. It's a really poor error, but just as a general aside, I thought that there would have been a cap or something, but I don't think that impacted the goal. And I'm not saying that by any stretch of the imagination. And again, there was, I'm pretty sure it was after a really good save as well, when Azaz threw a bunch of bodies manages to have a shot and goal. It might have been later in the game, might have been earlier. I apologise. It was a bit of a mess, but he made a brilliant save for that as well. And I felt really from that point, from the moment that Boro scored, and it was a brilliant strike from him. Norwich was second best for that period, probably then from Sainz's goal to half time, and Middlesbrough were so good in terms of their combinations. That midfield duo that have of Morris and Hackney, so talented, and Norwich probably weren't able to get high enough to it. They weren't able to press in the way that they wanted to, and that's just because Middlesbrough starved them of possession. They were so good in terms of their combinations and the way that they cut Norwich open and bend over on the right in a full game. And this is probably perfect as we come on to the second goal. I mean, what a young talent he is. Liverpool, Scottish international, still so young. And for the second goal, Norwich, it comes from Norwich's corner. It's cleared. It comes to Soleimani. Doak then gets away. And this for me is so frustrating, because I was sat there at the time going, foul him, bring him down, pull him. And he had a couple of nibbles at his shirt. There was a couple of grabs, but you just need to yank him and stop the attack and take the yellow card for your team. We're not talking about having two-footing someone out. Just be cynical about it. Do basically what George Edmondson done on Sargent. Get your arms around him, pull him down. Whatever you do not let him get over the halfway line. Do not let him wriggle away, because when he did, Boro then had an overload, because Norwich had obviously committed men forward from a corner. They worked the ball really nicely. It's on then to Tate-Steele across to Conway, and he gets a tap in for 2-1. And I think you could see it, I think, to be fair, on Soleimani's face. He was straight on his haunches, and I think he knew. And there was actually an instant in the second half where Doak peeled off him again and managed to get basically a handful of his shirt to stop the attack. And actually, in that instance, took a yellow card. And it's just like, oh, why didn't you do that for the second one? And that was the frustration around that one. The third goal, again, is a shot that comes through bodies. Long palms it out. I need to see it back, but in real time, I didn't really see an issue with that save. He's pushed it out and he's pushed it wide. Doak again responds to it first. Brilliant ball across, and Azaz taps in for 3-1. I think from there, it was like, woof, blimey, where did that come from? And everyone inside Carrow Road was a little bit hit for six, because, for so long, this place has been a real fortress. And Boro, for that 15 minutes closing 15 minutes of the first half, was so strong and so in a really high gear and so commanding, and Norwich were clinging on for dear life, to be honest. And there looked real levels between the teams. I forgot to mention as well, in between, I think just after Middlesbrough's second goal, Borja Sainz has a chance, gets played through and hits the post. So we talk about fine margins there. And that probably in some ways encapsulates what this game was. Two very, very good teams who are pretty close in level, who I think will finish roughly in the same portion of the table. How close, we'll see. But it was brilliantly mad. And I think at half time, the feeling is always that you need a quick goal when you're 2 goals behind and there's a two goal deficit. You almost need to get that first goal pretty immediately to give yourself a chance. And Norwich didn't really do that. They didn't make any changes, which I think probably would have surprised a lot of people inside this place. They stuck with the team they had, and they tried to build up a little bit of quiet momentum. Basically tried to get a foothold into the game again. They did that to an extent. And then obviously the goal from Sainz is pure magic. Doyle does really well to, I think if I'm thinking of it correct, does really well to get on the overlap, finds Sainz. And I mean, he's got absolutely no right to score from there, to shoot from there. And I think it maybe speaks about the confidence that he's got flowing through his veins at the moment to pick the ball up. I was right behind it where I'm sat in not far from where I'm stood. It was about there to take a shot and to whip it into the top corner with pace, with accuracy. with venom magic from a Magic player. 10 goals for him now. It's 12 goal contributions in 12. He is shining. And I think that goal, that shot encapsulates everything about where he's at this moment in time. Between that, though, between the third goal and the second goal, and I keep forgetting this, and I can't forget this because it's pertinent on what we're speaking about George Long, Middlesbrough get given a penalty. It's a clear penalty. Cordoba does really well to stop. I think it was McGree. No, it was Hackney dribbling through. Then it is McGree who basically takes it off Cordoba's foot, and he manages to just nick the ball ahead of the Panamanian. So that's that clear penalty for me. And I think if the game goes to 4-1 at that point, this place probably would have emptied and definitely would be talking about a Norwich City defeat. So Conway steps up for his hat trick. The fact that he, look, I didn't think it was a convincing penalty, if I'm honest, but George Long with an excellent save. And I think, given what he's had to face, and there's been a lot of vitriol, I think, look, it's been criticised. Some of that criticism has been valid, and it's been performance-based and based on data and whatnot, and that's fine. You can make those arguments. I've seen some of it that's strayed into personal territory, which I think is just completely unnecessary, and it's been taken too far. And it feels to me at points that people are almost waiting for him to make an error, is what it feels like to me. And look, whether they are or whether they're not is irrelevant, but that's kind of how it's felt. And everything that he's done has been picked apart. I thought of Stoke, there were some good moments. I spoke about that. I thought Preston, yes, there was an error, but in the same token, there was defensive errors and structural errors from the way that Norwich set up. I thought he made a handful of really good saves here today, including the penalty. But in equal measure, there's the mistake that cost the goal. So if we're talking about him costing Norwich a goal for the first one, but equally producing a save that stops a goal, then he's kind of balanced himself out, I think. So I'm inclined to say there was more good in terms of those saves in there today than there was bad. Is he Angus Gunn? No. Is he ever going to be Angus Gunn? No. But I just don't think it's helpful to get to a point where that abuse is constant and it's personal, and people are saying he's the reason that Norwich conceded a second goal, and it was George Long, but George Long's not even involved in it. So I just think relax, calm down. Let's everyone knows what George Long is, and again, it's like in an ideal world, you've got a goalkeeper there who doesn't play a single game because Angus Gunn is Norwich's number one. It's expensive. We saw how difficult it is as well when you have someone the quality of Tim Krul behind Angus Gunn, and it's a difficult role to recruit for, right? Because a lot of those guys don't want to be second choice. They don't want to sit behind a goalkeeper and not play minutes. So there's going to be a natural decrease in quality. And look, if you want to beat George Long around the head of his contract, well, he didn't offer it to himself. It wasn't him who offered him his contract. So again, the blame has to go, I think, to other people. So I'm pleased for him. It was a big moment in this game. I hope it's now a big moment for him, because Norwich are going to need him over the next few weeks. Cardiff, Sheffield Wednesday, probably Bristol City as well, but we'll see how we go. So that was a big moment. Norwich then get the second, and then this place erupts, and there's a real tidal wave of support and emotion, and the whole momentum in this game shifts. And actually, it was just before that second goal that Michael Carrick took off Ben Doak, and he took off Tommy Conway. Big moment, because Doak he spanned Callum Doyle inside out, and I think what taking him off did allowed Callum Doyle to grow into the game, to get into better areas. And then the third goal comes from Callum Fisher. It's again a switch from left to right. It's a whip ball in. I don't think it crosses the line before, but it hits the post, then hits Dieng's leg, and then goes in. It's a little bit of luck about the way that it's come about, but that caps off a brilliant comeback again from this Norwich team. I'd like to know how many times in a week in back-to-back games they come from 2 goals behind. But the momentum was with Norwich, and probably everyone in the ground felt if there was going to be a team that was going to win the game from there, it was going to be Norwich, because they had that momentum, they had the energy, they had that lift, they had the support of the crowd. It almost felt like they had an extra man as well. And then, obviously, a silly error. Kenny McLean makes a tackle. In real time, I was absolutely gobsmacked that a red card came out. Having watched the replay, look, I think his studs are up. I think he's caught him. I think it's probably a red, if I'm honest. It will be interesting to see, because I think the only maybe element that might save him and might mean that Norwich go and look to review it is the height of it, because is there an argument that he is not out of control? But I think those are probably stretching, if I'm honest. I think it's a red card. I think Norwich are looking for with 3 games without Kenny McLean, which is a major blow for the way that they play, with the consistency that he brings, with the control that he brings, to now essentially be looking at a 3-game period potentially without Marcelino Nunez and Kenny McLean is, yeah, not ideal. What I would say is I thought the referee got the penalty right. And I don't like to come on here and moan about referees because Norwich were 3-1 down because of what they did, not because of what the referee did. But yeah, I thought the penalty got spot on. I thought the red card he got on. Big calls, got them both right for me. Everything else I thought was bizarre and chaotic and not the best officiating decision. I mean, there's one in the first half where George Edmondson, already on a yellow card, literally has his arms round Josh Sargent like that. It's been argued that Sargent backs into Edmondson first, and look, maybe that's the case, but I think you can't have your arms around someone like that. And it's not even given as a free kick in real time, let alone as a card. This is a player who's on a booking. I mean, Sargent, I don't think does get to the ball, but he stopped him making a movement. So for me, that is a foul. That probably is worthy of a conversation of a yellow card. So maybe we should be talking about Middlesbrough being down to 10 men in the first half. But again, that's not the reason why Norwich City went on to concede the 3rd goal or whatnot either. So look, this was fun. It had everything, and look, I'd much rather have those refereeing inconsistencies than VAR and what that does to the game. That's just my personal opinion, but yeah, this was mad, and I think it's going to be interesting now to see what Norwich do, because their squad's getting tested. Let's be honest, no Kenny McLean, no Marcelino Nunez. I wonder whether now that this brings a back 3 into conversation with wing backs, and thought Oscar Schwartau was very, very good when he came on, actually. And he was similarly, I think it was Hull or Leeds. He came on and made a real impact as well. Just glides through games, really. Such a sumptuous first touch he's got about him. Probably could have scored as well at this end in that period. I think it was just after the 3rd goal. So I think he'd probably come into the conversation. But yeah, that's probably for another day. I'm off to have a lie down. I'm sure all you guys are as well. That was a fantastic, pulsating game of football. Probably the most entertaining game I've seen here, probably in that year-long run. And that seems like an apt place to leave it, really. 24 games now in all competitions at Norwich City are unbeaten in this place. It's going to be a year long now, because obviously they don't play Bristol City until I think the 9th of November, before that international break. Crazy stuff. And yeah, a testament, I think, to what's been built, because it was pretty torrid before that. And I think, David Wagner deserves credit in that, his staff and the group of players that were here last year, because they've built the majority of that. Norwich have had probably more draws than they would like here so far this season, albeit I think they've had a really tough start at home on paper. But yeah, it's the record in terms of going unbeaten in all comps at home is 25 games. And I think that was done in 1958 to 59, between November and October of that year. Norwich are on 24 at the moment. They did have a period in the 80s where they went 31 home league games unbeaten, but they lost in the FA Cup and the League Cup. This is an all comps run, so we're looking at that. So if they can basically avoid defeat against Bristol City in the next game, then they have levelled basically the best record in their history for all comps, unbeaten run, which would be absolutely remarkable. Right, this has gone on for far too long, but there were 6 goals, chaos and everything, so I'm sure you can understand it. I'll leave you there. Pinkham.com, the place to go, and we will see you again very soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.